Bryan. I'm an author and designer, and I'm here today to talk to you about something that I love very dearly. Of course, I love color whenever I'm making quilts, but one other thing I love are simple repeating patterns, such as triangles. And over here, you'll see my graphic triangle sampler. I've used all right triangles, and they're all different sampler blocks. And you can see each design is standing on its own. So today I'm going to show you some tips and tricks about how I like to make my triangles. So before I get into showing you the tips and tricks, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my organizational system. And I'm not the most organized person, so if you have any tips to share with me, I'd really appreciate it. So I've got a folder, and in the folder I keep all of my templates, my paper piecing patterns, all my things I need to make my sampler blocks. And of course I've got the original here, and I don't want to damage the original, so all my copies I put in here, and I keep them here safe, and hopefully they won't disappear on me. And then when I go to cut my different sampler blocks, I use paper plates to organize them. So you can see I've got 2 blocks cut out here, and I just keep my strips organized. And on the paper plates, I use pen and I just write notes to myself. You can see this is block 2 and this is block 1. And then for my scraps, I'll put them in a bin. So usually what I do is I cut my larger pieces first, and then I save my smaller scraps, and I'll save them for the last step that I like to do is paper piecing. It's when I paper piece, then I can go through my scraps and find those finicky pieces for paper piecing. Okay, so those are my organizational tips. And again, if you have any to share with me, I'd greatly appreciate them. So the first technique I'd like to show you is this thing I like to call a trimming template. I love to use trimming templates in designs because they're a nice way to use a piece of fabric, and then you'll cut the fabric down and you'll get the exact shape. So no matter what you make, if you use a trimming template, you'll get the exact shape, which is really important for angled pieces such as triangles. And if you look over here, you'll see some examples of some of the sampler blocks I've made using the trimming template. So I'd like to show you how to use the trimming template. So I'm going to line up my template with the edge of the fabric, and I want to do blue as the biggest piece, but of course I could flip this around and have the silver be the largest piece. So I'm going to put this in position, make sure this is nice and straight. I think I like that, yes, that'll be very nice. And then I'm going to take my fabric marking pen and my ruler. And this ruler also has some sticky tape, sticky things on the bottom of it, so it's not going to slide. So I'm going to pick it up and move it. And what I'm doing is I'm lining up the 1/4 inch mark with the 1/4 inch mark on the block. And this is just so I know my block is going to be the right size. Sometimes when I trim, I'll nick a little bit off my trimming template. So this is just a double check to make sure that my finished block will be the right size. So I'm going to mark my blue line. Sometimes I find you really have to press down to get these lines on the fabric. And this is just a water erasable marker. But any marker that you use, you just want to be sure that it won't damage your fabric. Okay, so I've got my line here. And it might be tempting to use the template as a ruler to cut, but you definitely want to use your acrylic ruler. One, most importantly, to protect your hands, because you do not want to bleed all over your pretty fabric, and in general, you just don't want to bleed. It's not good. Okay, so I've got this lined up. Make sure I'm all set, and I'm going to cut. Did it work? Yes, it did. And if I wanted to, I could cut a second block from that piece. Okay, this is nice and sticky, so it's sticking to my template a little bit. I'm going to turn this around, get this out of the way, put it in my scrap bucket. I'm going to do the same thing, line it up, and I'm gonna mark here. I'm gonna add my blue mark here. And if you want, you can take off the template and cut this apart with scissors. But I'm just gonna do that. Oh, and it went off track, so I need to cut it again. Okay. And there's a nice, perfect triangle block. And I've got another one to show you. I've got a different strip set here. I'm gonna do the same process. I'm gonna line up my trimming template. This is the way I'm gonna do it, but you could also flip it and have the stripes be at the top, and that would also be beautiful. So I'm lining this up again. Got my straight edge right here. Put my ruler here. I've got my 1/4 inch on my template, and I'm gonna mark real quickly. And actually, I don't have to mark because I'm using this acrylic ruler, but if you were going to use scissors, that would be a nice thing to do. Okay, got that piece. Make sure I close my rotary cutter. Twist this around, and sometimes when I'm moving my block, I need to reposition my trimming template. Carefully put this on. Align my rotary cutter, and there we go. And there's another beautiful graphic triangle block. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to show you are these things called Halfsie Blocks. And these are examples of Halfsie blocks. You can see this is the same as this, but instead of being both sides having stripes, one side has the stripes and the other just has a plain triangle. And same here, this has a stripe and this has a triangle. So Halfsie blocks, just like you would go out to dinner with your girlfriend and you want to get dessert, but you don't want to eat the whole chocolate cake, you go halvesy with your girlfriend, right? So instead of the whole block or the whole chocolate cake, you're going to have half. And so you're going to take one triangle and one half of the piece block, and you're just going to sew them together. I've got a few blocks ready for me at the sewing machine. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine here, make sure I have the 1/4 inch on here, and I'm going to sew just like that. Okay, there's one block. I've got a second. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. I'm looking for my scissors. Got my snips. Good deal. And I'm going to take it over to the pressing station. And you can press your blocks any way you like. I'm going to press them to the side just because I like to do that, but be sure you do it however you like. And there's one block. And here is my second block. Oh, I'm actually pressing this one open. You can tell what my natural habit is. The past few days I've been pressing them open, so. And there's another example of a Halfsie block. Okay, so these are just a taste of the sampler blocks you can make. And by using the sampler blocks, you can take a traditional quilt pattern, such as this 8-pointed star, and give it a modern, updated twist. And so this is a traditional 8-pointed star, and you can see I've got some graphic triangle sampler blocks in here. And some blocks are just triangles, some are halvesies, and that's how easy it is to play with modern triangles.